and shoes. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits named Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother underneath the root of a very big Mexican alder tree. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail went down to the lake to look for food, but Peter ran straight to Mr. McGregor's garden. And squeezed under the gate. Yes. He ate food. And food. And food till he got sick and looked for parsley and medicine. Then he turns the corner and sees Mr. McGregor planting in his garden. Stop thief! Peter runs around lost, not remembering the way he got in. And then loses his shoes jumping over the gate. He runs faster and gets caught in a tree. Mr. McGregor looks around and sees some tennis balls to throw at Peter. He picks them up and throws them and misses horribly with the first 2. Then Peter decides to ditch his jacket. And then runs away as Mr. McGregor hits Peter with the 3rd tennis ball. And Peter runs into the shed, followed by Mr. McGregor. Once in the shed, Mr. McGregor starts looking around for Peter. He sees some overturned buckets and begins to wonder which one Peter's in. Aha! Achoo! Peter then runs out of the shed, followed by Mr. McGregor. As Mr. McGregor chases Peter, he finds a rake and begins to try to hit Peter repeatedly. Peter escapes Mr. McGregor, and Mr. McGregor, angry that he can't catch Peter, stops and goes back to gardening. Not knowing where to go, Peter sits down to rest, out of breath, trembling with fright. He begins looking around slowly and sees a mouse carrying food in her mouth and asks her for directions.
Hey mouse, do you know the way out of here? Please, I would really appreciate it if you could tell me.
Peter begins crying and looking around for a way out.
Why you?
As he's walking, he sees Mr. McGregor gardening, and also an open gate. Peter makes a mad dash for the gate, jumping over Mr. McGregor, and goes home. Mr. McGregor grabs Peter's clothes and decides to make them into a scarecrow. Peter finally gets home and lies down and goes to sleep, and when he awakens, he finds that he's not feeling very well. Where are your vest and shoes? That's the 2nd pair you've lost this month. Now, 1 tablespoon for your taking at bedtime. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail have milk and blackberries for supper.